Hello, my name is Darren Bartik. I'm with the Digital Service Operations Group inside of BMC, and I'm here to share a little bit about what's new with our latest release of TrueSight. We are focused on helping you run and reinvent IT operations to help you deal with the impacts of your enterprise's digital transformation. And very importantly, we have one major update with the TrueSight release this time, which is really about the security space and how we're helping IT operations close that gap between security and operations. We also have some updates as it relates to the performance and management of cost of resources across your multi-cloud environment. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to first start with a little bit of background just to give you context into why we've made some of the changes and enhancements and updates to the TrueSight portfolio. So first of all, I don't think any of this is really truly profound, but just to give context of the disruption that you as customers are dealing with, I believe all of you are facing these challenges. Transforming your enterprise to improve your customer experiences. Just about everyone is doing this. If you're not, frankly, if you're part of that 4% that's not going through rapid change and improving your customer experiences, then you're probably being disrupted heavily by one of your competitors. So as we change, there's explosive complexity happening. The multi-cloud strategy that just about every enterprise has, wherever they are along that journey, it's creating greater complexity for IT operations as you manage across your on-premise data centers, your various public cloud deployments, as well as your SaaS services and your private clouds, managed service providers, etc. Lots of complexity. The thing that many people don't necessarily appreciate is that although we have so much conversation going on around the cloud, there's still tremendous workload expansion happening in the data center itself. You see one of the analyst statistics here that within just the next couple years, we will double the workloads that are happening in the traditional data center. So that, again, increasing complexity. And the last piece here is really about how this has changed, not from a technical perspective, but your organization and your departments outside of IT operations that have greater control over budget that's being spent on technology, both from a platform and a management tool perspective, and really just the increased complexity in terms of how we're getting things done from an IT operations standpoint in terms of working with different groups. So let me go into that concept a little bit more to help you understand, again, really the vision that we have for how we want TrueSight to help you from an IT operations standpoint. So if we just start with IT operations and we think about some of the fundamental things that have been happening over the last few years, there's really been significant business demand change. Clearly, the business is demanding more and more from the organization in terms of speed and time to market. We're developing new applications and services, some of those being developed natively in the cloud, some of them being completely refactored and reimagined to not only get to market faster and deliver disruptive service for your customers, but doing it much faster. The threat of cyber attack and your need to mitigate risk around vulnerabilities and attack services, data breaches, it's more than ever. It seems like hackers are getting access to and trying to put their bots on your applications within just a couple minutes of deploying and making them accessible to the world. The last piece is really around agility and the cost of your infrastructure that many of you have to help take care of, and just how do we think about getting to a more agile state with our infrastructure, reducing the cost of it, which has always been a challenge for IT operations, but how do we reduce cost and still provide scale and that agility that the business needs? What this has created is, in many of our organizations, a new set of operational teams. DevOps, as far as the whole process and methodology around DevOps, including application operations teams. We now have security operations teams where we're trying to have a tighter linkage between security and what happens inside operations. And then many of our customers are starting to explore cloud operations, where there's either a segment or a totally different group outside of IT operations just focused on managing public cloud services. So although we seem to have kind of an ops everywhere concept evolving and emerging, there are still essentially three imperatives that operations have to deliver on. And it really maps back to the business demands and the evolution of these different operational teams. Those imperatives are performance, security, and cost. Although you're in operations, you certainly have responsibility for all of these imperatives, whether or not there's a different team involved, whether or not you're trying to collaborate better with security team or the finance group, the procurement team, etc. There's significant responsibility for operations to deliver on these imperatives. So you'll see us talk about in our business performance, security, and cost, and how we want TrueSight to help you in all three of those areas moving forward. Very importantly is not just in terms of these three imperatives, but how does IT operations, if the imperatives are the what and the business demands are really the why of how you're trying to deliver against these business demands, then how do you change things? And really, how do you scale IT operations without adding a tremendous amount of labor or budget to your business, which in my conversations with many of our accounts and many of our customers, you're not able to add a tremendous amount of team members. You're not getting a lot more budget. So how do we scale the operations without adding more labor? And that really comes down to making sure that you're aware of and managing according to the applications and services, not just infrastructure components, and that you're starting to use more analytics and automation to scale the business beyond just the human scale of what your teams are. So these are some of the kind of the backdrop of what we're doing inside TrueSight and where a lot of the enhancements with this particular release of TrueSight comes from. So if we look at this from kind of a marketecture point of view, and we think about how IT operations is working with to better collaborate with these different teams and the different processes around operations, it comes down to a fundamental set of capabilities, both in the performance, security, and cost areas, but also critical capabilities that underpin all three of those areas. And this is what we're delivering in the TrueSight platform. It's what we are focused on enhancing over the coming releases and the roadmap that we have. So essentially, we are looking at helping you be able to manage your workloads, your services, your applications that are in the data center, in your traditional environment, in the environment of infrastructure as a service, where you're essentially lifting and shifting, or you're moving some of your workloads to the public cloud and you're using infrastructure as a service, and then also building out new services from a cloud native perspective. Being able to deliver against the performance, security, and cost imperatives using fundamental capabilities that help you scale better is really what TrueSight's all about moving forward. So let's introduce you to fundamentally the new TrueSight, which is a combination of capabilities from what you've traditionally known in TrueSight, but also in some of our other product areas across BMC, where we've enhanced them with this release and also essentially rebadged or renamed them to be part of the TrueSight portfolio. So here you have the fundamental products that are part of the portfolio that make up the ability for TrueSight to deliver against these performance, security, and cost imperatives. All of these things are focused at essentially creating a fast, secure, and cost-effective experience for your customers as well as your end users, customers possibly sometimes being internal employees or partners in your enterprise. So what I'm going to do now is kind of step through each of the products that you see listed on the right and kind of talk you through what's new. And for those of you that are not familiar with the whole portfolio as is, give you a little bit of background before we even talk about what's new. So let's go to the performance section. As we talk about performance, again, we're talking about monitoring, event management, probable and root cause analysis, bringing in events and data from other sources such as APM tools that may be used by some of your application teams, or data and events from security monitors as well. So the flagship product that most of you know as part of TrueSight is TrueSight Operations Management. And this is our application and service-centric performance monitoring product that gives you great scale and great visibility to all of your infrastructure according to the applications and services that you're managing. So we're not talking about just managing configuration items, but really how are you thinking about the services that are riding on the infrastructure that you're managing. And this is a fully cloud-ready application where you can run it in your traditional data center on-premise, or you can deploy it in AWS, Azure, or anywhere you may need to deploy it, okay? The new capabilities around operations management really come down to a few big things. And one of them is the fact that it now supports Google Cloud, so you're able to monitor and manage the performance of services running in the Google Cloud platform, as well as be able to deploy them, again, in pretty much any cloud that you'd like to. And the next thing that's really significant in operations management this time is, for some, may not be a very exciting conversation, as we sometimes talk about reporting is not something that it's not a reason you buy a performance management system, but it's one that you depend on significantly in order to share information with others outside of your core responsibilities, including the executive team and other parts of the business. So we have completely re-architected and rebuilt the TrueSight reporting, and it's called Smart Reporting, and it is an incredibly easy to use system that allows you to create very visual reports, simple ones in just a couple minutes, and really complex ones in an hour or so. But importantly, you don't need a sophisticated or an expert in report writing to do this now. It supports multi-tenancy in case you're providing reports to multiple customers, and it just fundamentally has redesigned the whole reporting structure around TrueSight Operations Management. So really exciting capability there. I think all of our customers that have been using TrueSight will appreciate the significant difference here. The next thing here is beyond just the operations of performance. When we talk about reducing MTTR of events, when we talk about better automating processes around performance management, the new TrueSight orchestration capability, which inside of BMC used to be known as Atrium Orchestrator. Some of you may be familiar with it, but we've enhanced it further, and we have a pretty exciting roadmap designed around this automation product to fundamentally change the way you're doing automation inside your business and significantly reduce the manual effort, reduce the error-prone effort where it comes involved in managing events, in integrating with your change management system, integrating with your service desk, and getting other teams outside of core IT operations involved in the process to ensure performance. So this is also something very exciting and brand new to the TrueSight portfolio. Some of you have been using Atrium Orchestrator over the years, but it has a new life inside of the TrueSight portfolio. So all of the pre-built flows that we have today, there's well over 5,000 of them already, but we have new run books with this release, and effectively using a very simple to use development environment, you're able to pretty much automate any process you need to support not just performance, but other aspects of IT operations, okay? So let's move on to the next really exciting part, which is the security operations and just the idea of what can we do in the TrueSight portfolio to help you improve the security posture in the enterprise and make sure that you are not at risk to be one of the next enterprises that have your name out in the press around a data breach or an application that gets corrupted by cyber attack. So first of all, we have the ability to help you manage and run operations as it relates to vulnerabilities and compliance issues for on-premise applications as well as those running in the cloud. And the first capability that I want to point you to here is called TrueSight Cloud Security. It's fundamentally a SaaS platform, a SaaS product, and it very, very quickly helps you scan all of your cloud assets, triage them in terms of the criticality of issues that you have, exposures and non-compliant configurations that you may have according to the Center for Internet Security and other internal policies, and very quickly remediate those issues within less than 15 minutes. We've had customers actually try this, and within only 5 minutes, they're able to see the out of compliance configurations that they have and be able to remediate those and fix those within less than 5 minutes. So it's a great new product inside the TrueSight portfolio. We actually released it initially as the SecOps policy service late last year, and there's been a lot of excitement about what this capability can do for our customers. With this release, we now support Google Cloud, just like the rest of the portfolio does, and Kubernetes container orchestration. So both Docker and Kubernetes are supported, because just like any server network or other type of CI, your containers have configuration that needs to be hardened and managed as well. So again, new and exciting capabilities here in the TrueSight portfolio around your security environment. As we think about the next capability, which is TrueSight Vulnerability Management, this is a capability that helps you get out of helps you fix the gap, close the gap, if you will, between your security team and your operations team. So I've heard dozens of customers talk about how they have a particular relationship with the security team inside of IT operations. And what fundamentally happens is the security team runs their scanners, things like Rapid7 or Tenable or Qualys, these types of tools. They run those scans, and then they essentially throw an Excel file or some type of CSV file over the wall to the operations team, and they say, okay, please take care of all these vulnerabilities and these configuration issues that are creating compliance risk. And that's it. It's a list of IP addresses. It's not very helpful of a list. So what TrueSight Vulnerability Management helps you do is it compares that list that you get from your vulnerability scanners, and it automatically compares and maps those against your endpoints that are understood to be part of different services and applications that you manage, and that you're then able to quickly prioritize and triage them against the things that are critical vulnerabilities, generally on a scale of 1 to 5, as well as critical services, so that you can take care of and patch or either fix the configuration setup of that particular item as quickly as possible. And importantly, do that at scale. So some of the new highlights with this capability inside of TrueSight now is we have the capability first to remediate these issues through our server and network automation capabilities from BMC. But now you also have the capability to do this through Microsoft SCCM. Many customers use that for their patching and their data center automation configuration, and now you can do that directly with the Microsoft tool from TrueSight Vulnerability Management. You can also deploy this anywhere via a container deployment, so deploy it on-premise in your traditional data center or deploy it up in the cloud, whichever makes sense for you. We've also added new tagging capabilities to make it easier and more flexible in terms of being able to identify what goes with an overall service or an application setup, and again, use that to prioritize what vulnerabilities you have to address first. So, exciting capability here to help you, again, bridge that gap between security and operations teams. And the next set of capabilities are really our way of helping you remediate those vulnerabilities or the compliance policy violations that you have very quickly and at scale. So many of you are actually probably familiar with our BladeLogic products, industry-leading capabilities that have been in the market for quite some time around data center automation. As part of this new release of TrueSight, we have combined also the BladeLogic products into the TrueSight portfolio and renamed them as part of TrueSight. So very simply, BladeLogic has converted to TrueSight server and network automation, but we've also begun to enhance these capabilities as we think about how to better perform performance remediation, as well as, in this case, security remediation. So the capabilities here, first of all, help you at significant scale. Largest enterprises in the world are using these with more than 100,000 endpoints being managed in terms of patching and configuration. These same capabilities are what you'll be able to use to remediate the issues, including the vulnerabilities that TrueSight Vulnerability Management helps you prioritize and identify according to your patch and your config change windows. So it has very broad support as far as the policies that you can manage, and it now has a REST API for easier integration with other capabilities and other data coming into the server and network automation capabilities. We've also reconstructed the reporting capabilities. So rather than depending on our own reporting capabilities, we now have an open schema to all the data that is in TrueSight Server and TrueSight Network Automation, and that allows you to use your BI or your reporting tools of choice, which makes it just much more flexible, and everyone has the tool that they'd like to use. So exciting developments here, as well as we've expanded the portfolio to include more capabilities around security management. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the last imperative, which has been very familiar to all of you in IT operations for a long time in terms of cost management. And we're not just talking about cutting cost here, but really optimizing what you spend on the resources that you need, server, network, storage, optimizing those resources in terms of delivering the right performance and making sure even that you have the right security profile for any type of application, whether you're running it on-premise or in the cloud. The first capability that I'll point you to is one that some of you may have heard about as we released it late last year, but we've enhanced it further, and it's a really exciting capability called TrueSight Cloud Cost Control. Essentially what this does is it helps you avoid the sticker shock, and it helps you avoid doing rather unsophisticated lifting and shifting of applications into the public cloud. So many of our customers have told us that they certainly went to the public cloud, either AWS or Azure or Google, whatever it may be, all of which we actually support with this product. And they went there because they were trying to save money on infrastructure, but they are obviously also trying to be more agile in terms of how they consumed and deployed infrastructure. So many parts of your organization are probably consuming cloud resources. Many of your development and application teams, as well as even in some cases marketing organization. Different parts of the organization are buying cloud resources, and there really hasn't been a very good way to manage this from a centralized standpoint. So with TrueSight Cloud Cost Control, you're able to quickly and easily and in real time, essentially, understand what you're spending in the cloud, again, on AWS, on Azure, or on Google, but importantly then optimize what you're spending You can look at idle VMs, look at where you are wasting resources, where you have overcapacity allocated to particular services. And you can look at this by the department or the group or the particular service that may be depending on this infrastructure. So it gives you really tremendous insight into where you're spending money and then how to optimize that spend from the public cloud perspective. This helps you do a smarter migration as you move to the cloud from on-premises and optimize the spend as you're in the cloud as well. Okay, last thing we want to talk about today is TrueSight capacity optimization. This is also helping to optimize the spend on your compute, network, and storage across your public cloud deployments as well as your on-premise data centers. We're helping you with an industry-leading capability that we've had for years now around capacity optimization. And we've enhanced this further to not only help you with your cloud deployments on Google Cloud Platform, but also with AWS and Azure, further enhancing the capabilities there. This release also includes a new integration with the Dynatrace APM product. So we're pulling in the application model from Dynatrace to help you better align your capacity management to how your applications being managed by Dynatrace are being done. So fundamentally here with TrueSight capacity optimization, you're able to look at all of your resources and understand which applications or services are consuming what resources, be able to reserve capacity for new applications that are coming online, and ensure that you're aligning the utilization to business demands as it changes throughout the year or even throughout the day, depending on how dynamic that application is. So again, really strong capabilities here as far as capacity optimization, and really geared around improving not just the cost of what you're spending to deliver applications, but then the resources required to ensure optimal performance. Okay, so let's summarize here with kind of a wrap-up of why TrueSight based on the newest releases. And I'll point you to the top of the screen first, which is first and foremost that TrueSight now covers the performance, security, and cost imperatives for IT operations, and helping you to not only run IT operations, but kind of reinvent some of the ways that you do things across your on-premise data center environment, your workloads that you've shifted out to the public cloud, but essentially not re-architected or rebuilt them, and also the workloads that are running from a cloud-native perspective, things where you're using native services like Lambda inside of AWS. Being able to manage performance, security, and cost across those different workloads is the first reason to think about why TrueSight can be valuable to you moving forward as a customer. And the last thing here is really those critical capabilities that we talked about in terms of scaling your operations beyond your present human team's capability, and being able to address a very large set of data being collected from all the different endpoints in your system, being able to quickly work through that data, come to the decisions of what events need to be addressed first, how to get to the root cause, as well as the security events that are being produced, the vulnerabilities that you have, the compliance violations that you have from a configuration standpoint, looking at all these different data sets and coming to the very fast decision around what to do, and then quickly automating those from a task and a process point of view. So you're rapidly remediating, and it's importantly at scale, so that you're not just doing things in one-off. So that's the summary of today for what's new in TrueSight. Lots of new capabilities being delivered to you as customers. Big change as far as the BladeLogic and Atrium Orchestrator products coming into the TrueSight portfolio. And fundamentally, I just want to thank you again for being a loyal customer. If you'd like more information about what's happening with TrueSight, you can always visit our website, just bmc.com TrueSight, and also bmc.com/support will get you much more information and detailed documentation about what's new with TrueSight, whether it's performance, security, or cost related. So with that, I'll wrap up for today, and I wish you all great luck, and thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.